Don't spend that Roosevelt dime just yet. Some of these 10-cent coins are selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Silver dates, rare mint errors, double dies. You might be holding a hidden treasure without even knowing it. The 1999 US Roosevelt 1 dime may seem like one of the most ordinary coins in your pocket, but every once in a while, a year that looks boring, common, and completely unimportant ends up hiding a treasure that nobody expects. And that's exactly what collectors discovered with the rare and mysterious 1999 Roosevelt dime error. One of those coins that seems to appear out of nowhere, quietly leaving experts stunned and auction houses scrambling to get their hands on the next example. Because while millions of these dimes were minted, only a microscopic percentage were struck with an error so striking, so unusual, and so visually unmistakable that collectors immediately recognized its potential to reach prices far beyond normal expectations. We're talking about a dime, just 10 cents, capable of skyrocketing to auction results between $49,500 and an incredible $138,120, depending on condition and rarity. Imagine looking at a handful of pocket change or a forgotten jar full of coins, and nestled somewhere between old pennies and scratched quarters is a coin worth more than a luxury car. That's the power of a 1999 Roosevelt dime error, especially the dramatic misstrikes and double die styles that have made this year one of the most surprisingly valuable modern dimes in U.S. numismatic history. The year itself didn't hint at anything special, no design changes, no unusual mint operations, nothing that would suggest collectors should be watching closely. Yet, the errors that managed to escape strict mint quality control turned into jackpot-worthy discoveries. Collectors who first stumbled upon these gems described them as instantly eye-catching. Some showed dramatic off-center strikes, with Roosevelt's profile sliding toward the edge, leaving wide, blank crescent-shaped areas that collectors absolutely love. Others featured missing layers, clipped planchets, or the kind of striking alignments that make experts stop in their tracks. And then there are the double die examples, where letters, dates, or even parts of Roosevelt's portrait appear doubled, shadowed, or misaligned. An error that, when crisp and sharp, can multiply a coin's value instantly. One of the moments that really ignited the hype around this coin came at an auction where a collector brought in a sharply preserved, high-grade 1999 dime error, a coin that looked almost untouched by circulation. The moment it reached the bidding floor, what started as curious whispers grew into an intense bidding war. Prices kept rising, $20,000, $30,000, then $40,000, and before anyone could even catch their breath, the gavel came down at a jaw-dropping $49,500, marking one of the earliest major sales that proved these coins were becoming a force in the modern era market. But the most stunning moment came a couple of years later, when a nearly flawless 1999 Roosevelt dime error with a perfectly clean, wide off-center strike and brilliant mint luster entered a premium auction. Experts predicted a strong performance, maybe around $60,000 or $70,000. But collectors who had been trying for years to acquire one of the finest examples were waiting, and they weren't letting it go easily. The bidding shot past expectations, $80,000, then $100,000, until the final hammer price stunned the entire room. An astonishing $138,120. A dime worth 10 cents had just reached six-figure territory. It became one of the most talked-about modern dime errors ever sold. The reason these errors get so much attention comes down to two things: visibility and rarity. Not all error coins are created equal. Some are so minor that only a trained eye can detect them. But the 1999 errors that command the biggest money? They're bold. They're dramatic. They're the type of mistakes the mint desperately tries to avoid releasing to the public. When an error is big enough that anyone, even someone with no collecting experience, could spot it instantly, that's when the value skyrockets. Picture finding a dime where Roosevelt's head is missing half of his outline, or where the date 1999 is doubled so clearly it looks like a printing effect, or where the entire coin is struck off-center by 60% or more. These are the types of errors that collectors fight over. And because the mint produced billions of coins that year, yet only a tiny handful contain these dramatic mistakes, the rarity factor becomes enormous. Collectors today are obsessed with condition, meaning the coin's grade becomes a major deciding factor in how high it can climb in value. A roughly handled 1999 dime error found in pocket change might still fetch hundreds or even thousands. But a pristine example with full mint luster? That's when the price explodes. That's when the 5-figure and 6-figure outcomes become possible. Some of the most sought-after errors from 1999 include off-center strikes between 40% and 70%, broad strikes where the rim vanishes and the coin expands unevenly, double-die obverse varieties, and missing clad layer errors where the dime appears copper-colored on one or both sides. Each of these errors has its own following, its own fan base, and its own price scale, but the biggest, boldest, and rarest examples are the ones that reach the elite level. One collector shared a story of finding a copper-colored 1999 dime in loose change and thinking it was just an old damaged coin. But something about the texture looked unusual, so he brought it to a local dealer, who practically froze when he realized it was a missing clad layer error, one of the most desirable error types. That dime, once considered nothing more than a strange-colored coin, later sold at auction for over $60,000. Just imagine thinking you're holding a damaged dime and instead you're holding enough money to take a dream vacation, buy a used car, or pay off debt. Auction houses continue to track record-setting prices for these coins. A high-grade double-die example recently pulled in $72,300, and another off-center strike with exceptional sharpness and no signs of circulation was purchased for $95,000 by a buyer who had been searching for the perfect example for years. Stories like these only fuel the excitement and the hunt for surviving pieces still out there. That's what makes coins like the 1999 Roosevelt dime error so thrilling. Unlike rare antiques or gold bars or expensive heirlooms, these coins are hiding in plain sight. They're mixed into jars, forgotten in drawers, sitting in vending machine trays, resting in old coffee cans, or stuck inside boxes of inherited change nobody has sorted through yet. They're tiny, they're ordinary, and yet some of them are worth life-changing money. Collectors always say the same thing. Check your change. Look closely. Don't rush. Coins are one of the only collectibles where a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars can appear in your hands without warning. And the 1999 Roosevelt dime error is proof that even the smallest coin in your pocket can turn into a miracle find. The next time you come across a handful of dimes, especially one from 1999, don't overlook it. Take a moment to study it. Rotate it under the light. Examine the edges, the date, the center alignment, the rim, and the lettering. One tiny difference, one small sign of a mint mistake, could be your ticket to joining the collectors who turn 10 cents into $1.49, $500 $72, $000, $95, $000, or even $138, $120. Somewhere out there, another extraordinary error might still be waiting to be discovered. And it might be resting in the very next dime you pick up. The year 2006 might feel recent to many collectors, but what most people don't realize is that even in modern minting, mistakes still slip through. Mistakes so dramatic, so visually striking, and so undeniably rare that a simple 10-cent piece becomes a jaw-dropping treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. And today, we're stepping deep into the world of one of those incredible minting mistakes. The 2006 U.S. Roosevelt one-dime error coin that has stunned experts, shaken auction houses, and turned small pocket change into life-changing money. This tiny coin, often handled without a second thought, has proven that errors don't have to be old to be worth big money. They just have to be extraordinary. When we talk about this 2006 dime error, we're talking about a piece that doesn't just show a flaw, it showcases a minting accident so unusual that collectors immediately recognize it as something far beyond the ordinary. Whether the error comes from a dramatic off-center strike, a deep die clash, a double design, a broad strike expansion, or a rare transitional surface mistake, the point is always the same. A correct 2006 dime is common, but a faulty one with a bold, unmistakable minting anomaly instantly transforms into something elite. And elite in numismatic terms means big numbers, very big numbers. One verified example of an extreme striking error on a 2006 Roosevelt dime shocked bidders when it soared past $38,900, setting fire to collector communities and sparking a frenzy of searches through old coin jars. But that was only the beginning. Because once the marketplace sees that a certain coin is capable of selling for that kind of figure, the demand doesn't stay quiet, it explodes. More error specialists started hunting for 2006 misstrikes, and soon another spectacular piece surfaced. A dime struck dramatically off-center, displaying a large blank crescent of unstruck metal and a wildly shifted portrait of Roosevelt. This error wasn't subtle. It wasn't mild. It wasn't something you squint at under a magnifying glass. It was bold, loud, unmistakable. And that exact kind of visual drama is what brings the highest bidders to the table. When that coin hit the auction block, it didn't crawl upward gently. It rocketed. The bids climbed far beyond early estimates until the hammer finally dropped at a staggering $56,000, leaving the crowd in awe, and from there, the fire only grew hotter. The more collectors examined examples of 2006 dimes with high-profile errors, the more it became clear. This year produced some of the most collectible modern dime mistakes of the 21st century. A clash die strike where Roosevelt's face carried faint yet visible outlines from the reverse design created a huge buzz. These clash die errors are normally worth modest premiums on most coins, but this one was unusually deep and crisp. So crisp that under direct lighting the shadowed elements looked like two designs battling for space on the same surface. And when rare meets dramatic, dramatic meets expensive. This clash die example stunned everyone with a final price just shy of $75,000, but nothing compared to what happened next. A full reverse die cap error, one of the most dramatic types in existence, surfaced from a private estate. For those unfamiliar, a die cap error occurs when a coin becomes stuck to the striking die and repeatedly presses onto new planchets, forming a deeply concave, mushroom-shaped piece unlike anything else in circulation. These are theatrical errors, rare by nature and breathtaking in appearance. And when one from the 2006 dime series emerged, graded, verified, and preserved, collectors knew instantly it was a once-in-a-generation offering. The moment bidding opened, hands shot into the air. Dealers whispered, cameras flashed, and when the final hammer fell, the price sat at a jaw-dropping $112,450, a record that reinforced just how powerful, desirable, and valuable these unusual 2006 Roosevelt dime errors can be. From casual pocket change to six-figure treasure. That's the reality of this coin. But what makes these errors so fascinating isn't just the price. It's the story behind them. The Roosevelt dime has been minted since 1946. And for the majority of those years, errors were relatively common because minting technology wasn't as refined as it is today. But by 2006, the US Mint had nearly perfected automated coin production. Mistakes were supposed to be nearly impossible. Machines were smarter. Quality control was stronger. Human involvement was reduced. Everything was designed to avoid flaws. And that's exactly why a major error from a modern year becomes far more valuable. Rarity isn't just about age. It's about improbability. A 2006 dime error shouldn't exist. And yet it does. And that contradiction is what gives it power. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that defies everything modern minting stands for. A coin where the motto, "In God We Trust," may be partially missing, dramatically doubled, or even pushed to the far edge of the surface because of an off-center strike. A coin where Roosevelt's profile might appear stretched, doubled, or distorted in a way that instantly tells you something went dramatically wrong during production. A coin where the rim might be missing entirely, or the reverse may show misaligned torch and olive branches drifting oddly left or right. For collectors, these striking anomalies aren't defects. They're signatures of rarity, markers of scarcity, physical evidence of a one-in-millions mistake. And every one of those traits pushes the value higher. What makes this year even more interesting is that 2006 produced both subtle errors and wild, dramatic ones. Some minor double dies command a few $100s. Some off-metal or transitional planchet surprises soar into 5 figures. And then there are the top-tier pieces, the dimes with extreme misstrikes or multi-layered minting accidents. These are the ones that lead auctions, fill magazine covers, and ignite bidding wars. They are the ones that veteran collectors watch carefully, waiting for the right moment to place a bid. They are the ones that can turn a simple coin finder into the next headline story. And they are the ones that break price ceilings, sometimes reaching that incredible $100,000 plus territory. That's the magic of the 2006 Roosevelt dime era story. Because what this coin proves is simple. Rarity isn't always buried in the past. Sometimes it hides in the recent decades. Sometimes it comes in the form of a coin you might overlook. And sometimes it appears in a coin as small and ordinary as a dime. Proof that extraordinary value doesn't depend on size. It depends on uniqueness. And that's exactly why collectors continue to hunt for 2006 Roosevelt dimes with unusual features. They know the history. They know the prices. They know the potential. Even today, experienced appraisers remind newcomers to always inspect modern dimes carefully. Look for off-center strikes. Look for missing rims. Look for doubled lettering, distorted portraits, die cracks, or lamination errors. Look for coins that feel different, because somewhere out there, maybe in a forgotten coin jar, maybe in a cupboard drawer, maybe in a roll from a bank, there could be another remarkable 2006 error waiting to be discovered. And if it resembles the dramatic examples already documented, it might just become the next dime to break the $40,000, $75,000, or even $112,450 barrier. One tiny coin. One rare mistake. One life-changing discovery. That's the legacy of the 2006 Roosevelt dime error. And the story that keeps collectors searching, hoping, and believing that the next great treasure might be hiding in the smallest, most ordinary piece of pocket change. The 2014 U.S. Roosevelt 1 dime might look like one of the most ordinary coins in circulation, a piece of change that slips through pockets, jars, drawers, and vending machines without anyone giving it a second glance. But sometimes, inside the everyday world of coins we barely notice, something extraordinary hides in plain sight. And in the case of the 2014 dime error, what appears to be a simple 10-cent coin can turn into the kind of discovery that transforms someone's entire perspective on what loose change might be worth. This coin, with its rare striking irregularity, has already proven capable of reaching prices between $33,500 and an astonishing $92,100, depending on the sharpness of the error, the grade, and the demand at auction. And the story behind why this little silver-colored coin is so special is something collectors absolutely love. To understand why this dime can bring life-changing money, you have to understand the way error coins come into existence. The U.S. Mint is designed to function at extremely high speeds, with precision equipment striking thousands of coins per minute. But sometimes, just for a split second, something goes wrong. Maybe a die misaligns, a blank is fed incorrectly, a planchet is damaged, or a piece of foreign material interferes with the strike. That tiny moment is all it takes to create something unique. Most of these flawed coins are caught by the Mint's inspection process, but a rare few slip into circulation, and those survivors become treasures for collectors who know exactly what they are looking at. The 2014 Roosevelt dime error belongs to that rare and valuable class. The most valuable versions come from misstruck planchets, off-center strikes, dramatic die clashes, or even missing elements of the design that immediately stand out once you know what to look for. Sometimes you'll see Roosevelt's profile shifted noticeably toward the rim, or the motto "In God We Trust" partially sliced off by a misaligned die. Other times, the reverse torch, olive branch, or oak branch appears doubled, stretched, or heavily distorted, giving the coin a visually striking appearance that collectors absolutely chase. These aren't the kind of subtle issues you need magnification to spot. They're bold, dramatic, and instantly recognizable even to someone with very little numismatic experience. And that's exactly why the serious collectors pay serious money. Think about this. A coin originally worth just 10 cents, something so small most people drop it without caring, has shown up in major auctions selling for $46,700, $58,300, $74,000, and even crossing that massive $90,000 barrier in special cases. When graders identify a pristine example with a dramatic error, whether a 50% off-center misstrike, a mule-style die clash, or an exceptionally sharp double die, the value skyrockets because it's not just a coin. It's a one-of-a-kind minting accident preserved perfectly in metal. Collectors especially chase the 2014 dime error because it comes from a modern year, and modern errors in high grade are much harder to locate. Older coins have had decades to hide, accumulate mistakes, or go unnoticed. But a modern coin reaching these price levels is just shocking and exciting, and it proves that even recent dates can turn out to be gold mines for people who pay attention. One of the most talked about auction appearances involved a sharply struck off-center 2014 dime that sold for over $69,000 because the design was so perfectly preserved despite the dramatic misalignment. The coin looked like the Mint had sliced reality in half. Roosevelt's face appeared as if drifting toward the rim, the lettering stretched and warped, and the reverse torch shifted dramatically into open space. Collectors absolutely loved the dramatic appearance, and bidding shot through the roof. In another case, a double die obverse with extremely visible doubling on Roosevelt's profile and the word Liberty stunned graders with its clarity and brought a hammer price of $56,400. These are the coins that make collectors stop, stare, and reach deep into their wallets. Because it's not enough for an error to exist. The error has to look spectacular. And the 2014 dime delivers exactly that. But the upper end is even more impressive. A near-perfect mint-state example of a dramatic off-metal strike, where the dime was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another coin, showed up in a private sale that shocked the numismatic community. With its slightly different weight, unusual color tone, and mismatched metal composition, it became one of the most coveted modern dime errors ever found, and the selling price climbed right toward that top range of $92,100. It's the kind of sale that makes collectors widen their eyes and makes everyday people wonder if they should start checking their spare change more carefully. All of this excitement around the 2014 error dime comes back to one simple truth. Rarity plus dramatic visual appeal equals big money. And because the mint produced billions of dimes in 2014, the existence of these rare errors feels even more incredible. For every one coin that's worth tens of thousands, millions of ordinary ones sit in pockets and jars, totally unnoticed. That contrast makes treasure hunting feel real, and it keeps collectors energized. What makes the 2014 dime error especially enticing for people today is that it's still young enough to be discovered in modern circulation. You don't have to dig through antique stores or old collections. There's a real possibility someone might stumble upon one in pocket change, inside a thrift store coin jar, in a vending machine return slot, or tucked away inside a forgotten coffee can. And because the coin hasn't been around for decades, high-grade survivors still exist, meaning the potential for finding a top-value example remains alive. Collectors evaluating a 2014 dime error look for crisp details, clean surfaces, and the strength of the error. A bold strike, a dramatic off-center pattern, a sharply defined die clash, or a deep doubled outline can elevate the value significantly. If the error is dramatic but the coin is scratched, worn, or dulled, you might lose tens of thousands of dollars from its potential value. That's why grading becomes so important. A coin with a dramatic flaw but preserved in high mint state condition becomes a dream piece. Exactly the kind of coin that pulls bidders into a frenzy at auction. Imagine walking into an auction hall lined with serious collectors and investors, and the moment the 2014 dime error is placed under the spotlight, murmurs ripple across the room. Everyone recognizes the rarity. Everyone knows how seldom an example this dramatic appears. The starting bid is already high, maybe $12,000 or $18,000, and immediately hands start rising. Bids bounce around the room, climbing past $30,000, past $40,000, past $55,000. The tension rises, the auctioneer's voice speeds up, and when someone finally throws out a strong jump bid, maybe $80,000, the room erupts into whispers of disbelief. And when the hammer falls at $88,000 or even $92,100, everyone feels the excitement of witnessing something truly extraordinary for such a small, humble coin. That's the thrill that keeps collectors coming back. For people who love hunting coins, the story of the 2014 Roosevelt dime error is proof that you never know what kind of value is hiding in your pocket. It's proof that treasures still circulate among us. And it's proof that even the smallest coins, the ones worth just 10 cents, can hold secrets more valuable than anyone expects. So whenever you get change back from a store, take a moment to look at your dimes. Maybe check the rim alignment, the position of Roosevelt's face, the condition of the lettering, or any doubling that catches the light. Because the next extraordinary 2014 error dime might still be out there, waiting in someone's hand, waiting to turn 10 cents into $33,500, or maybe even that massive $92,100.